This story contains themes of loss and grief, but ultimately hope. Viewer discretion advised. They say you never really know someone until they're gone. I used to think that was just something people said at funerals, one of those empty phrases we use to fill the silence when there's nothing meaningful left to say. Then Emma died, and I realized it was true, but not in the way I expected. It's been 8 months since the accident. 8 months of waking up and forgetting, just for a second, that she's gone. 8 months of reaching for my phone to text her something funny before remembering there's no one on the other end anymore. 8 months of learning that grief isn't a straight line, it's a maze with no exit, and some days you find yourself back at the beginning, lost all over again. But this story isn't just about loss. It's about what I found in her absence. It's about a message that was never sent, and how sometimes the words we never say can change everything. I met Emma on the first day of college chemistry. I was nervous, running late, and when I finally slid into the lecture hall, the only empty seat was in the very back row. That's where she was sitting, Emma Chen, with her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing an oversized cardigan that had seen better days, and writing in a notebook that was covered in doodles and coffee stains. She looked up when I sat down, and I remember thinking her eyes were the kindest I'd ever seen. Not in a romantic way, at least not yet. Just kind. Like she actually saw you, not just looked at you. "You're late," she whispered, but she was smiling. "Traffic," I lied. "Really? I'd just been standing outside the building having a small crisis about whether I'd chosen the right major. She didn't believe me. I could tell. She slid her notebook toward me. "You missed the safety lecture. Here are the important parts. Don't drink the chemicals, don't set yourself on fire, and Professor Morrison has a zero-tolerance policy for phone use. Also, he has a lazy eye so you can never tell who he's actually yelling at." I laughed. Actually laughed. And Professor Morrison's head swiveled in our direction. Or maybe not. Emma was right about the lazy eye. After class, she introduced herself properly. Emma Chen Jr., biology major with an inexplicable love for chemistry puns. I have about 30 of them ready to go, so fair warning. "Ryan," I said. "Sophomore. Undecided major. 0 chemistry puns, but I make a mean grilled cheese. That might be the saddest thing I've ever heard. We need to fix this immediately." She pulled out her phone. "Give me your number. I'm going to text you 1 chemistry pun every day until you either love them or block me." She kept her promise. Every single day for 3 weeks, I got a chemistry pun. Some were terrible. What did the scientist say when he found 2 isotopes of helium? He. Some were worse. Why can you never trust atoms? They make up everything. On day 22, I asked her out. We got coffee at this tiny place near campus that Emma swore had the best chai lattes in the state. I ordered black coffee because I was trying to seem sophisticated. She ordered a chai latte with extra foam and 3 pumps of vanilla, then called me out immediately. "You hate that coffee. I can see it on your face." "It's fine," I said, taking another sip and trying not to wince. Life's too short to drink bad coffee to impress people. She flagged down the barista and ordered me what she called a beginner's latte, something with caramel and enough milk that it barely qualified as coffee. "Try this." It was perfect. She was right. She was right about a lot of things. That first date lasted 4 hours. We talked about everything. Her childhood in San Francisco, my small-town upbringing in Oregon, her dream of becoming a pediatrician, my complete lack of direction. She told me about her younger brother, David, who had autism and who she adored. She told me about her parents' divorce when she was 13, and how she'd learned to be the peacemaker, the one who smoothed things over. "I'm really good at reading people," she said. "Maybe too good. Sometimes I wish I could just not notice things, you know? It would be easier." I didn't fully understand what she meant then. I do now. We became inseparable after that. Emma had this way of making ordinary moments feel like scenes from a movie. Grocery shopping became an adventure where we'd rate the background music and debate the life stories of fellow shoppers. Waiting for the bus became a chance to people watch and create elaborate backstories for strangers. "See that guy?" she'd whisper, pointing at a businessman checking his watch at the bus stop. "He's not late for a meeting. He's racing to the hospital because his wife just went into labor with twins. He's terrified because he's never even held a baby before." I'd laugh and play along. "What about that woman with the painting? She's an artist. That's her first gallery piece. She's been painting in secret for 20 years, and today she finally got brave enough to submit it. That canvas is going to change her life." Emma saw stories everywhere. Magic in the mundane, beauty in the broken. And when you're with someone like that, you start to see it too. The world becomes bigger, fuller, more alive. Our first year together was a highlight reel of small, perfect moments. Late-night study sessions where we'd end up talking instead of working. Weekend trips to the coast where we'd walk on the beach until sunset. The time she dragged me to a karaoke bar and we massacred Don't Stop Believin' so badly that people actually booed. She laughed so hard she cried. And I remember thinking I'd never seen anyone more beautiful. We moved in together after I graduated. A tiny one-bedroom apartment that was technically too small for two people, but somehow it was perfect. Emma filled it with plants, succulents and ferns and a fiddly fig she named Gerald who she swore could sense our moods. I filled it with books and an embarrassing number of coffee mugs. We have 23 mugs, Emma said one day, doing inventory in our cabinet. There are 2 of us. Why do we need 23 mugs? Each one has a purpose, I defended. This one says world's okayest employee. Where did this even come from? Secret Santa 3 years ago. I keep it as a reminder not to peak too early. She laughed. And that sound, God, that sound. I'd give anything to hear it again. But relationships aren't just highlight reels. Emma had her dark days too. Days where the magic faded and the world felt too heavy. She struggled with anxiety and depression, something she was remarkably open about, but also something she fought privately, not wanting to burden anyone. The first time I saw her really struggle was about 6 months into our relationship. I came over to her dorm and found her in bed at 3 in the afternoon, curtains drawn, barely responsive. At first, I thought she was sick. "I'm fine," she said. But her voice was flat, empty. "You don't seem fine." "It's just a bad brain day. I'll be okay tomorrow." But she wasn't okay the next day, or the day after that. Finally, she told me about her history with depression, how it came in waves, how sometimes she could go months feeling normal, and then wake up one day and the color had drained from everything. "I'm on medication," she explained, "and I see a therapist. I'm doing everything right. But sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes my brain just decides to be mean to me." "What can I do?" I asked. "Just be patient. Don't try to fix it. Don't tell me it'll get better or that I should try yoga or whatever. Just be here." So I was. I learned to recognize the signs, when she got quiet, when she stopped texting her friends, when she'd come home from class and go straight to bed. I learned that sometimes helping meant doing the dishes without being asked, or picking up her favorite Thai food, or just sitting next to her in silence while she stared at the wall. I also learned that I couldn't save her, that her mental health wasn't my responsibility, no matter how much I loved her. That was a hard lesson. I wanted to be her hero, her cure, her reason to smile. But that's not how it works. She had to save herself. I could just be there while she did. Most days, she was okay. Better than okay. She was brilliant and funny and so full of life that it seemed impossible she could ever feel empty. She got into med school, which was her dream. We celebrated by getting drunk on cheap champagne and dancing in our apartment until our downstairs neighbor banged on the ceiling. "I'm going to be a doctor," she kept saying, like she couldn't believe it. An actual doctor. "Kids are going to call me Dr. Chen." "You're going to be amazing," I told her, and I meant it. "I'm going to be stressed out of my mind," she laughed. "Med school is going to destroy me. Then I'll put you back together. Promise?" Promise. I didn't know then that some promises are impossible to keep. It happened on a Tuesday in March, the most ordinary day of the week, the kind of day where nothing significant is supposed to happen. Emma had driven to her mom's house about 40 minutes away. Her mom had been going through a rough time, a breakup with a long-term boyfriend, and Emma was the comforter, the one who showed up with ice cream and let her mom cry on her shoulder. That was Emma. She took care of everyone. We'd texted that morning. Normal stuff. She sent me a photo of her mom's cat, Mr. Whiskers, who was dramatically sprawled across the kitchen table. "He's so judgy," her text said. "I think he's upset that I didn't bring you. Tell him I'll come next time," I replied. "He says that's acceptable." That was our last conversation. 3 texts about a judgmental cat. She was driving home around 2:30 in the afternoon. It was a clear day. Good weather, no rain. She was at an intersection about 10 miles from our apartment when a pickup truck ran a red light. The driver was texting. Didn't even see the light. Didn't see Emma. The truck hit her car on the driver's side going 45 miles per hour. The police came to our apartment. I'll never forget that knock on the door. It was tentative, professional. When I opened it and saw two officers standing there with those expressions that practice sympathy, I knew. Before they said anything, I knew. Are you Ryan Mitchell? Yes. Do you know Emma Chen? She's my girlfriend. What happened? Is she okay? The silence before they answered told me everything. I'm very sorry to inform you that Miss Chen was involved in a serious automobile accident this afternoon. Is she in the hospital? Which one? I need to go. Sir, I'm very sorry. Miss Chen died at the scene. The paramedics did everything they could, but her injuries were too severe. The words didn't make sense. They were speaking English, but it sounded like gibberish. Emma died. Emma died. Those two words didn't belong in the same sentence. No, I said. No, that's not right. We were just texting this morning. She's coming home. I'm so sorry. I don't remember much after that. I remember sitting down, or maybe falling down. I remember one of the officers getting me water. I remember calling Emma's phone over and over, like if I just heard her voice on the voicemail enough times, it would undo what they'd told me. Her mom called me a few hours later. She was hysterical, barely coherent. I'd never heard anyone in that much pain. She kept apologizing. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. If she hadn't come to see me. It's not your fault, I said. But my voice sounded like it was coming from far away. She was the best thing I ever did, her mom sobbed. The best thing. And now she's gone. The doctors said she died instantly. They said she didn't suffer. I'm supposed to find comfort in that. But I don't. There's no comfort in sudden absence, in a voice you'll never hear again, in all those future conversations that will never happen. There's no comfort in never getting to say goodbye. The funeral was 5 days later. I don't remember planning it, but somehow it happened. Emma's mom handled most of it. I just showed up, wore a suit, and tried not to completely fall apart in front of 200 people. Everyone said things, kind things, meaningless things. She's in a better place. Time heals all wounds. At least she's not in pain. God needed another angel. I wanted to scream at them. She was 25 years old. She was going to be a doctor. She was supposed to have 60 more years of life. There is no better place than being alive, being here, being present for all the moments she'll now miss. But I didn't scream. I just nodded and said thank you and accepted their casseroles and condolences. Her best friend Sarah gave the eulogy. She talked about Emma's laugh, her terrible chemistry puns, her dream of being a pediatrician who made sick kids smile. She talked about Emma's kindness, how she volunteered at the children's hospital, how she always remembered people's birthdays, how she made everyone around her feel seen and valued. Emma had this way of making you feel like you were the most important person in the world when she talked to you, Sarah said, her voice breaking. She paid attention. She cared. And now the world is dimmer without her light. I couldn't give a speech. I'd tried to write one, but the words wouldn't come. How do you summarize someone's life in 5 minutes? How do you explain what it felt like to love Emma Chen? After the funeral, people came back to her mom's house. They ate and drank and told stories about Emma. I sat in the corner and watched, feeling like I was underwater. Everything was muffled and distant and wrong. Her brother David found me there. He was 17, tall and quiet, and he sat down next to me without saying anything. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally he said, "She loved you a lot." I loved her too. I know. She told me. She said you were the best thing that ever happened to her. I started crying then. Really crying, for the first time since the police had knocked on my door. David put his hand on my shoulder and we sat there, two people who loved Emma, drowning in our own private oceans of grief. The weeks after were a blur. I went back to work because I didn't know what else to do. People tiptoed around me, speaking in soft voices, asking if I needed anything. I said I was fine. I wasn't fine. I don't think I'd ever be fine again. I couldn't sleep in our bed. It smelled like her. That combination of her coconut shampoo and the lavender lotion she used every night. I slept on the couch instead, when I slept at all. I couldn't listen to music. Every song reminded me of her. I couldn't watch TV. We'd started 6 different shows together that I'd now never finish. I couldn't do anything we used to do together, which was basically everything. I was stuck, frozen, existing but not living. 3 weeks after the funeral, I finally went to her apartment to pack up her things. She'd been living with a a pre-med student named Aisha who was kind enough to give me space and time to do this alone. Take as long as you need, Aisha said. And if there's anything you want to keep, just take it. Her mom said she's okay with that. Walking into Emma's room was like being hit by a truck all over again. Everything was exactly as she'd left it that Tuesday morning. Her bed was unmade. There was a coffee mug on her desk, still half full, with a ring of mold growing on top. Her laptop was open, asleep but not off. Her clothes were scattered around, jeans on the floor, a sweater draped over her chair. It looked like she'd just stepped out, like she'd be back any minute to finish her coffee and close her laptop and fold those jeans. But she wouldn't. I stood in the doorway for a long time, unable to move. Finally, I forced myself to start. I folded her clothes. I packed her books. I took down the photos she'd taped to her wall, pictures of us, of her family, of her friends. Each one was a memory, a moment frozen in time when she was alive and happy and here. I found her phone in her nightstand drawer, tucked under a stack of medical school notes. I'd been looking for it. The police had returned her belongings from the car, but the phone wasn't with them. I thought maybe it had been destroyed in the accident. The screen was cracked, a spiderweb pattern across the glass, but when I pressed the power button, it lit up. 38% battery. A miracle it still held a charge after 3 weeks. Her wallpaper was a photo of us from last summer, laughing at the beach. We were mid-laugh in the photo, caught in a genuine moment of joy. I remembered that day. We'd stayed until sunset, building an elaborate sandcastle that we knew the tide would destroy. She'd made me dance with her in the sand even though there was no music playing. "We don't need music," she'd said, taking my hands. "We have each other. That's better than any song." Looking at that photo now, I couldn't breathe. That version of me, the one who was laughing, who took having Emma for granted because of course she'd always be there, seemed like a stranger, an innocent who didn't know how quickly everything could end. I almost threw the phone back in the drawer. I couldn't handle it, but then I noticed the notifications on her lock screen. Messages, 47. Missed calls, 23. Voicemail, 8. Unsent message and drafts, 1. My hands shook as I unlocked it. I knew her password, her brother's birthday. The phone opened, and I navigated to her messages out of muscle memory. There, in her drafts, was a message addressed to me. It was time-stamped the morning of the accident, 11:47 a.m., about 2 hours before she died. I sat down on her bed. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Should I read it? What if it said something I didn't want to know? What if our last fight, a stupid argument about whose turn it was to clean the bathroom, was the last real conversation we'd had, and this message was her being angry? But I had to know. I had to read her words, whatever they were. I opened the draft. My love. I'm sitting in my car outside Mom's house, and I just need to write this down before I lose my nerve. I've been trying to find the right words for weeks, maybe months, but there are no right words for this kind of honesty. I'm struggling, Ryan, more than I've let you see. I know you know I have bad days. You've been there for plenty of them, but I haven't been completely honest about how bad it's gotten lately. The darkness has been winning, and I'm so tired of fighting it. Some days I wake up and the weight on my chest is so heavy I can barely breathe. Some days I look at my medical school assignments and can't remember why I wanted this in the first place. Some days I'm so tired of pretending I'm okay that I just want to sleep forever. I'm tired of being the girl who sees magic in everything when some days I can barely see the point in anything. I'm tired of feeling like I'm performing all the time, performing happiness, performing normalcy, performing like I have my life together when really I'm just barely holding on. But here's the thing, and this is why I need to tell you this. You are the reason I keep fighting, not in some romanticized, you complete me way, not in a way that puts pressure on you or makes my mental health your responsibility. In a real, concrete way. When I'm with you, I remember why I want to stay. You make me laugh when I forget how. You hold my hand when the anxiety gets bad. You never make me feel broken or like I'm too much. You just love me, on the good days and the bad days, and that means more than you'll ever know. I need you to know that if something ever happens to me, and I don't mean anything specific, I just mean, in general, in life, it's not because you weren't enough. You were always enough. You were everything. If I ever seem distant or sad or like I'm pulling away, it's not because of anything you did or didn't do. It's just my brain being mean to me. It's the depression talking, not the real me. The real me loves you so much it scares me sometimes. The real me wants to marry you someday, wants to have a life with you, wants to grow old with you and still be making terrible chemistry puns when we're 80. The real me is fighting for that future, and I want you to know, I'm really fighting this time. I'm not just going through the motions. I started seeing a new therapist 3 weeks ago. Dr. Martinez. She's tough but good. She doesn't let me deflect or make jokes when things get real. She makes me actually talk about the hard stuff. And I started a new medication last month, an adjustment to my prescription that my psychiatrist thinks will help more than what I was on before. It's too early to tell if it's working, but I have hope. Real hope. Not the fake optimism I sometimes try to project. I'm doing all of this because I want more. I want more mornings where I wake up next to you and steal all the covers. I want more nights where we cook dinner together and somehow always end up ordering takeout instead because we're terrible cooks. I want more of your terrible puns and your mediocre coffee-making skills. I want more grocery store trips where we make up stories about strangers. I want more dancing without music. I want more of everything with you. I'm writing this because I want you to know. I'm choosing to fight. I'm choosing us. I'm choosing life. Even on the days when it's hard, even on the days when my brain tells me everyone would be better off without me, I'm choosing to stay. For you, but also for me. Because I deserve to see what our future looks like. We both do. I love you more than all the stars we counted on that rooftop last spring. Do you remember that night? We stayed up until 3 a.m., and you kept falling asleep and then jerking awake, insisting you weren't tired. I love you more than coffee, and you know how much I love coffee. I love you more than chemistry puns, which is really saying something. I love you in the boring moments and the magical ones. I love you when I'm happy and when I'm sad and everywhere in between. I'm going to send this when I get home. I'm going to be brave and honest and vulnerable, the way you've always been with me. You deserve to know what's really going on. You deserve the truth. See you tonight. I'm making that pasta you like for dinner. Or we'll try to make it and then order Thai food when we mess it up. Either way, I can't wait to see you. Forever yours, Emma. P.S. Something small but good happened today. I was at the coffee shop this morning before coming to Mom's, and there was this guy sitting alone at a corner table. He looked so sad, Ryan. Like the kind of sad where you can tell someone is drowning inside. I almost didn't do anything. I was having my own bad morning and didn't think I had anything to give. But then I thought about what you'd do, and I bought him a coffee and asked the barista to bring it to him with a note. Whatever you're going through, you're not alone. The world is better with you in it. The barista delivered it, and I watched from across the shop. The guy read the note, and Ryan, he smiled. It was small, but it was real. And for a minute, I felt it. That magic I'm always talking about. That little spark that reminds me why life is worth living. Even on hard days, we can still give little pieces of light to other people. I think I needed that reminder as much as he needed that coffee. Anyway, I love you. See you soon. She never made it home to send it. I sat on her bed, in her room that still smelled like her lavender lotion, and I read that message 10 times, 20 times. I lost count. I cried until I had nothing left. The kind of crying that's silent and painful, where you can't catch your breath and your chest physically hurts. I cried for Emma, who was fighting so hard to stay. I cried for the future we'd never have. I cried for all the words she'd written that I'd never gotten to read until it was too late. But somewhere in the grief, buried deep under the pain and the loss and the crushing weight of missing her, I felt something else. Something unexpected. Gratitude. Emma was fighting. She was actively choosing life. She'd found a new therapist, adjusted her medication, and was doing the hard work of trying to get better. The darkness hadn't won. She hadn't given up. A random act of violence, a distracted driver, a moment of terrible timing, that's what had taken her from me. Not her depression. Not her struggle. She was fighting, and she was winning. And that last part, the postscript about the stranger at the coffee shop, that was so perfectly Emma. Even on a hard day, even while sitting in her car writing about how much she was struggling, she'd taken the time to bring light to someone else's darkness. She'd seen someone in pain and had decided to do something about it, even when she barely had the energy for herself. That was who Emma was. That was the woman I'd loved. The woman I'd always love. I don't know how long I sat there. At some point, Aisha knocked gently on the door. Ryan? Are you okay? Yeah, I said, though my voice was wrecked from crying. I'm okay. Do you need anything? No. Thank you. I carefully saved Emma's message. I couldn't delete it. Couldn't risk losing her words. I forwarded it to my own phone, then read it one more time on her cracked screen before finally, reverently, setting her phone aside. I finished packing her things. Every item felt sacred now. Her favorite sweater, her medical textbooks, the coffee mug collection she'd been so proud of. These were the physical remnants of a life that had been full and bright and meaningful, even if it had been cut short. When I was done, I sat on her bed one last time and looked around her room. This was goodbye. The final goodbye I'd never gotten to say. I love you, I said out loud to the empty room. I'll always love you. And I promise, Emma, I won't let your light go out. I'll carry it forward. I'll finish what you started. That night, lying on my couch because I still couldn't face our bed, I made a decision. Emma had been choosing life. She'd been fighting to stay, to be present, to keep seeing magic in the world. I couldn't let that fight end with her. I would finish what she started. I would send the message. Not the literal message she'd written, but the spirit of it, out into the world. The next morning, I went to the coffee shop where Emma and I had our first date. I ordered a chai latte with extra foam and 3 pumps of vanilla. Her order, not mine. And I asked the barista for a stack of sticky notes. Can I ask what they're for? She said, handing them over. I'm leaving messages, I said. For strangers. Small reminders that they're not alone. She smiled. That's really kind. I wrote the first one right there. You matter. Your story isn't over. The world is better with you in it. I left it on a table, weighted down by a sugar shaker. Then I wrote another, and another. I left them in library books, on bathroom mirrors, tucked into the pockets of coats at thrift stores. Simple messages. Emma's message. I started paying for people's coffee, just like Emma had done for that stranger. At first, I was nervous about it. What if people thought I was weird? What if they didn't want my help? But then I'd remember Emma's words. Even on hard days, we can still give little pieces of light to other people. So I did. I'd watch for people who looked like they were having a rough day. The woman crying quietly in the corner booth, the old man sitting alone with shaking hands, the teenager with their head down on the table, and I'd buy them a coffee. Sometimes I'd include a note. Sometimes I'd just tell the barista to let them know someone was thinking of them. Most of the time, I never saw their reactions. But occasionally, I'd catch a glimpse, a small smile, a moment of surprise, eyes that looked a little less heavy than before. And every time, I'd feel it. That spark of magic Emma was always talking about. I started really looking at people too, the way Emma had taught me. I'd watch strangers on the bus, in the grocery store, at the park, and I'd wonder about their stories. Not to make up elaborate fantasies the way Emma and I used to, but to remind myself that everyone is carrying something. Everyone has struggles I can't see. Everyone deserves kindness. I volunteered at the children's hospital where Emma used to read to kids during her breaks from studying. The first time I walked into that pediatric ward, I almost turned around and left. It was too much, too many memories of her. But then I thought about her message. I'm choosing to fight. I'm choosing life. So I stayed. I read stories to kids with cancer, with chronic illnesses, with broken bones and broken spirits. I did magic tricks that weren't very good but made them laugh anyway. I sat with parents in waiting rooms and listened when they needed to talk. One day, a mother whose 6-year-old daughter was in treatment for leukemia said to me, "Why do you do this? Come here every week?" I told her about Emma, about the message I'd found, about the promise I'd made. She cried. And then she hugged me, and she said, "Your Emma would be proud of you." I hoped that was true. Months passed. The grief didn't disappear, it never does, but it changed shape. Some days it was a dull ache, manageable and familiar. Other days it was a tsunami that knocked me off my feet. I learned to ride the waves instead of fighting them. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Patel. She was patient and kind, and she didn't try to rush my grieving process. She let me talk about Emma, about the guilt I felt for not seeing how much she was struggling, about the anger at the driver who took her from me, about the crushing weight of missing someone who was never coming back. Grief is love with nowhere to go, Dr. Patel told me once. You're finding places to put that love. That's beautiful. I started sleeping in our bed again. It was hard at first, but eventually, it became a comfort instead of a wound. I'd lie there and remember the good mornings, Emma stealing the covers, her cold feet pressed against my legs, the way she'd wake up and immediately start talking even though I needed at least 20 minutes and coffee before I could form coherent sentences. I kept Gerald, the fiddly figure Emma had loved that plant, had talked to it and worried about it and taken such good care of it. I'd never been good with plants, but I tried. I watered it, made sure it got enough light, and yes, I talked to it sometimes. Hang in there, Gerald. We're going to make it. Miraculously, Gerald thrived. New leaves sprouted. It grew taller. Sometimes I'd look at it and think that if I could keep this plant alive, maybe I could keep Emma's spirit alive too. I stayed friends with Sarah, Emma's best friend. We'd meet for coffee once a month, and we'd talk about Emma, the real Emma, not some sanitized saint, but the complicated, funny, struggling, beautiful person she actually was. We'd laugh about her terrible sense of direction, her obsession with medical dramas even though she'd yell at the screen about all the inaccuracies, the time she tried to cut her own bangs and had to wear a hat for 3 weeks. She would hate that we're all sad all the time, Sarah said once. She'd want us to live, to laugh, to keep going. She was right. Emma's message had been about fighting, about choosing life. Honoring her memory didn't mean drowning in grief forever. It meant living well, living fully, living the life she'd wanted for herself but didn't get to finish. A year after the accident, I went back to the intersection where Emma died. Someone had left a small memorial there, flowers, mostly wilted, and a wooden cross with her name on it. I don't know who put it there. Maybe her mom. Maybe a stranger who'd heard about the accident. I stood there for a long time, watching cars pass through the intersection. The light cycled from red to green, green to yellow, yellow to red. Over and over. Life continuing, indifferent to tragedy. I miss you, I said out loud, not caring if passing drivers thought I was crazy. Every single day, I miss you. I'd give anything to have you back, to hear your voice, to see your smile, to listen to just one more terrible chemistry pun. A car honked. Life, continuing. But I'm okay, I continued. I'm not the same person I was before you died. That version of me died with you in some ways. But I'm becoming someone new. Someone who carries your light forward. Someone who chooses kindness, who sees people, who looks for magic in ordinary moments. I pulled out a sticky note from my pocket. I carried them everywhere now and wrote a message. Emma Chen was here. She saw magic in the world. She chose kindness. She mattered. I stuck it to the memorial cross, adding my small tribute to whoever had placed it there. As I turned to leave, an elderly woman approached the intersection. She was moving slowly, leaning heavily on a cane. The light was about to change. "Ma'am," I called out. "Let me help you across." She smiled, grateful, and took my arm. We crossed together, taking our time, while other pedestrians flowed around us impatiently. When we reached the other side, she patted my hand. "Thank you, young man." Not everyone would stop. "Someone I loved taught me to pay attention," I said. "To see people." She must have been special. She was. She is. The woman smiled and continued on her way, and I stood there on the sidewalk feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. Maybe not for a while. But peace. The kind that comes from knowing you're honoring someone's memory not by staying stuck in grief, but by living the values they held dear. I still have Emma's phone. I charged it and wrapped it carefully and put it in a drawer, unable to get rid of it but also unable to look at it every day. Sometimes, when I'm having a particularly hard time, I'll take it out and read her message again. Her words have become a touchstone, a reminder of who she was and who I want to be. I still leave notes for strangers. I've left hundreds at this point, maybe thousands. I have no idea if they help anyone, but I hope they do. I hope someone having the worst day of their life picks one up and feels a little less alone. The way Emma tried to make that stranger at the coffee shop feel. I still volunteer at the children's hospital. Last month, a little boy with a brain tumor asked me why I was always so happy. I told him I wasn't always happy, but I tried to choose kindness even on hard days. "My friend Emma taught me that," I said. "She believed that even on our worst days, we can still give little pieces of light to other people." "I like that," the boy said. Then, after thinking for a moment, "I'm going to try that too." And maybe that's Emma's real legacy. Not the things she accomplished, though she accomplished plenty in her 25 years. Not the degree she almost earned or the career she almost had, but the ripples of kindness she sent out into the world, ripples that continue to spread even though she's gone. I still miss her every single day. I still have moments where the grief is so heavy I can barely breathe, where I see something she would have loved and reach for my phone to text her before remembering. I still cry sometimes, in the shower, in my car, late at night when the apartment is too quiet. But I also have moments where I feel her presence in the kindness of strangers, in unexpected beauty, in the courage to keep fighting when things get dark. I have moments where I catch myself doing something she would have done, making up a story about a stranger, buying coffee for someone who looks sad, stopping to really see people instead of just looking past them. Emma taught me to see magic. Now I'm trying to create it. If you're struggling today, if you're fighting your own darkness, if you're tired, if you're barely hanging on, please know, you're not alone. Your story isn't over. The world is better with you in it. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose to stay, to fight, to believe that tomorrow might be better. Emma believed that. She was fighting for that future. She didn't get to see how her story would end, but I'm trying to write a good ending for her. For both of us. She chose life. I'm choosing to honor that choice by living fully, loving deeply, and spreading the light she brought into this world. I hope that's enough. I think she'd say it is.